As you may know, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution in 1973 in response to the Vietnam War. It would allow any one member of the House or the Senate to force a vote to withdraw U.S. forces from a conflict or to block strikes. Presidents for years have held that War Powers Act is unconstitutional. When it comes to the U.S. conflict in Iran, this legislation always faced long odds because even if it passed both chambers of Congress, there is not enough support without question to override a presidential veto. And to be perfectly frank, many members of Congress don't like voting on such matters because such votes force them to take a position at a specific moment in time that they can never erase. Never erase. Ask former Senator Hillary Clinton how she feels about her Iraq authorization vote. So, the Trump administration is carrying on with this military campaign while the timeline and desired outcome remain unclear as of now. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said earlier today it's, quote, very early in its military operations against Tehran, the Pentagon. And today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked what success looks like in Iran.
We've hit all of these targets. What can Americans expect the goal to be moving forward now that the U.S. has accomplished all of this? What is victory, given we've even taken out Iran's supreme leader? That was an explicit goal.
Again, victory will be determined by the commander-in-chief once the goals and the objectives that we have repeatedly laid out are fully realized.
Leavitt was also pressed on the fact that the U.S. did not seem to have a plan to safely evacuate all of the American citizens in the 14 Middle Eastern countries notified by the State Department until yesterday, day 3 of the war.
There was many signs put out by the State Department, and I wish that everyone in this room would report on them. The Secretary of State issued level 4 travel advisories dating back to January for many of these countries in the region.
The White House aiming to blame the news media, not the most powerful government on earth, for leaving its citizens stranded in a war zone. In any case, the only countries that had the highest travel advisory before the war began were Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. Those are clearly not the only countries that now find themselves on the wrong end of Iranian missiles. Plus, a travel advisory ahead of a potential attack is not the same thing as having a plan ready to get thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans out after the attack. But be that as it may, let's get right to CNN's Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, ahead of the end of the War Powers Resolution vote, you have been talking to many lawmakers about why they're supporting the military action in Iran. What are they saying?
Yeah, Republicans in particular, because they have the votes. If they wanted to vote to authorize this military action or vote for this war powers resolution, they could do that. But we're seeing Republican after Republican line up against it, including in this measure that is now on the Senate floor and is on track to fail. The vote right now, 47 to 52, would require a simple majority for approval. And just 2 members have broken ranks with their respective parties. Rand Paul of Kentucky voting with Democrats. He frequently breaks on foreign policy issues. John Fetterman was voting with Republicans. He's been more hawkish on some foreign policy issues. But a Republican after Republican are telling me they don't need to vote for this war powers resolution, which will require Congress, the president, to get consent from Congress to continue with the military operations of Iran, or a separate authorization for use of military force, what George W. Bush asked for in the Iraq War and Afghanistan War. They say this situation is different. Why shouldn't Congress have to vote to authorize it?
I just don't think that's within constitutional parameters.
Why not have Congress act?
This is a totally different, both of those operations were in response in the wake of 9/11. They were new operations. We've been in consistent conflict with Iran for 46 years.
But in Iraq and Afghanistan, there were AUMFs authorizing the use of force.
There was an entirely different set of mission that I think has absolutely no relevance in looking at this operation.
Why not just vote to authorize this war?
Well, I think the president has the authority.
Would you consider it a war?
It's a significant military operation.
And, of course, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has referred to this as a war, as President Trump has himself. And the Congress, as you know, Jake, under the Constitution has the explicit authority to declare war. But very clearly here, Republicans don't see the need of trying to rein in President Trump in any which way, even though there are still many, many questions about how long this will go on for, what additional resources will be needed, and if it continues to drag on, will the president be forced to come back to Capitol Hill? But one thing the lawmakers are bracing for, Jake, is an additional